A very lovely morning to all the distinguished guests, our honorable speakers, and all participants. Thank you to Almighty God that we all can get here in the quickest time without going through all the trouble. Well, hopefully, some of the guests who get stuck at the entrance can come and join us earlier than later. Welcome everyone to the third day of COP28. Today is the 2nd of December 2023, just in case some of you already lost in time. Okay, on this first session, we're going to talk about the voices of forests, amplifying local knowledge in climate change adaptation. I will start with a short context of the topic. The Indonesia archipelago has over 1,000 ethnic groups, which spread over 70,000 villages. And among the thousands of ethnic groups, there are Adat communities that maintain traditions passed down from generation to generation, including managing living space in the forest. And there is an emerging evidence that highlight the important role of indigenous or local knowledge systems and practices of Adat communities in preserving the forest and to encounter climate change. So to commence the first session, I would like to kindly invite our keynote speaker. He's the Secretary of from Directorate of General of Social Forestry and Environmental Partnership. Please welcome Dr. Mahfud MP. Thank you, Pak.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, distinguished colleagues, participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is a true pleasure for me to welcome you at Pavilion Indonesia UNFCCC SOP 28 Dubai 2023. I also welcome all the eminent and speaker and participant. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know, Indonesia National Development Agenda, known as New Nawacita, 9 national goals, recognize social forestry role in sustainable forest management. President of Republik Indonesia, Mr. Joko Widodo, introduced the Social Forestry Agenda in 2014 that set target of allocating 12.07 million hectares of forest land for social forestry. In September 2023, more than 6 million hectares of forest area have been given, including Adat forest. Social forestry has been successfully opened opportunities for sustainable forest management practices that can improve community welfare through community-based enterprise development activities. The Indonesia government has issued various policies to maintain sustainable forests and community welfare through social forestry program that has been stated on Ministerial Regulation number 9 year 2021 about social forestry management. This include introducing upstream, downstream market integration, increasing forest productivity, supporting increased investment and developing business opportunities for communities, developing infrastructure to connect economic centers to market, and providing facilities to communities. Ladies and gentlemen, furthermore, social forestry program intervene in the relationship between communities and forests and will impact local lives and livelihood. For that reason, local knowledge become an integrated part of policy objective, integrating local knowledge into social forestry processes ensure ownership, adoption, and sustainability. Social forestry also broadly refers to management of forests by local communities to achieve climate change mitigation and adaptation, food security, nutrition, and livelihood supports. Refer to the climate change mitigation and adaptation, local and Adat communities plays important role in order to implement the action through their indigenous or local knowledge in preserving the forest and being adaptive to survive considering the adverse impact of climate change. There is emerging evidence of the important role of indigenous of local knowledge for climate change adaptation. Adapting to climate change presents major social challenges, made all the more difficult by the uncertainty of future impact and issues surrounding climate justice. Local wisdom that regulate the utilization of forests in the form boundaries is proven quite effective to protect and preserve the forest. Knowledge system and practice of Adat people are recognized a major resource for climate adaptation. Ladies and gentlemen, this talk show, I am to show that local indigenous and knowledge are linked through various socially shared aspects, such as values and norms, spiritual belief, and perception of ecosystem function and benefits, as well as operational conditions, including livelihood strategies and economic constraints and social forestry management. A greater focus of way in which social forestry communities can regenerate, transform, and apply local knowledge can play a crucial role in integrating sustainable forest management objectives and livelihood under changing forest and environmental conditions. Finally, I would like to extend our gratitude and appreciation for speakers, committees, and all participants. We hope that our effort will keep containing to help achieving the shared goal. I wish you all very fruitful and successful deliberation. Thank you very much and your kind attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much, Pak Mahfud, for the warm remarks. And I'll just get on to it by introducing all the speakers. Being the first one, please welcome Pak Yuli Prasetyo Nugroho from the Directorate General of Social Forestry and Environmental Partnership, Ministry of Environment and Forestry, Republic of Indonesia. And being our second speaker, please come on the stage, Pak. Thank you. And you can just choose whichever seat you please. Next speaker is Bimantara Aji from Huma, Indonesia. Silakan, Mas. And we're still waiting for Miss Regan Pairoj Mahakich. She's from RECOFTC. I'm sure everybody's here know what it stands for. And subsequently, I would like to invite Ibu Tami, Swari Utami Dewi from Kawal Borneo. Silakan, Ibu. Last but not least, our partner from International, Martin Schroeder from KfW Development Bank Frankfurt. Please join on the stage our moderator, Mas Apri Dwi Sumara. Over to you, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning and welcome to Indonesian Pavilion of COP28, Dubai UNFCCC, for the talk show session of Voice of the Forest, Amplifying Local Knowledge in Climate Change Adaptation. His Excellency, Director General of Social Forestry and Environmental Partnership, Mr. Bambang, eminent speakers, resource person, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sabri Dusumara. It is an honor for me to be the moderator of this talk show, in this early morning talk show, I mean. This talk show is hosted by Directorate General of Social Forestry and Environmental Partnership, Ministry of Forestry, Republic of Indonesia. On behalf of the committee, we are very grateful to be blessed together here to discuss an important issue in the amplifying local knowledge in climate change adaptation. In this talk show, we have 5 speakers, but Regan is still facing problem in the registration area. We wait for her. The goal of this event are provide information about contribution of the social forestry program in the climate change adaptation action movement, both on a policy scale and its implementation. Secondly, lesson learned from implementation of local knowledge in social forestry as real action on site levels. On the third, building international awareness of the social forestry as real action against climate change. Now we are moving along to our session. First speaker, as Mona mentioned, we have Pak Pras, Mr. Pras, or Yuli Prasetyo Nugroho, as head of Adat Forest, Directorate General of Social Forestry and Environmental Partnership. Pak Pras will deliver about the importance of local knowledge in climate change adaptation in Indonesia. Second speaker will be Pak Aji, Bimantara Aji, as a project manager at Perkumpulan Huma, an NGO who concern in the maybe Adat people facilitation. He's going to share about elevating local knowledge as measure of resource to climate change adaptation. Third person, Tami, the only one woman speaker here. We wait for Regan, I mean. An activist of perhutanan sosial or social forestry from Kawal, Borneo. She will give us talk about women and social forestry toward climate adaptation and resilience case in Indonesia, maybe in Kalimantan especially, but in the whole Indonesia. Yeah, we'll see. Fourth speaker will be Regan, as a senior program officer for landscape collaboration. Please welcome Regan. She's coming now. Please have a seat. I start to announce you.
I heard that.
Yes. Very hard to get here, you know.
Long lines now.
Regan, as a senior program officer for landscape collaboration in a changing climate at RICOF DC, will share about community forestry in landscape approaches to resilience, particularly lesson from South Sulawesi, isn't it? Yes. And the fifth speaker, the last but not at least, Mr. Martin Schroeder, as a representative of KfW Development Bank, Germany, will give topic to us about international support, especially in this case, amplifying knowledge in climate change adaptation. We would start the presentation, start from Mr. Pras and then respectively all the speakers here. Mr. Pras, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Apri. Thank you, Pak Dijen, Pak Sedi, to the opportunity to speak to this morning. My presentation is about importance of local knowledge in climate change and adaptation in Indonesia. We have a local community and indigenous people forum before COP, and we communicate with other friends and people to other the world. Next, please. In Indonesia, as you know, and maybe it's new from other colleagues from outside Indonesia, we have many diversity of culture. We have 1,000 ethnic group or tribes, and we have 718 language in more than 76 village in over Indonesia. They have some living space in the customary law community or Adat forest from generation to generation. And in general, they identify themselves such in local term like Kasepuhan, Gampong people, Mukim people, Ketemenggungan, or other term. And in international law, we call it indigenous people, and we call them is in Indonesia is Adat people. That's why because we have more diversity and we have and I'm so indigenous people too. I'm Adat people too. I'm from Japanese. Next, please. Since 2012, we have a decision of Indonesian Constitution Court. Then forest management by state become a special adat forest to they own manage in but in law of state management. Okay, next please. Yes, the momentum of Adat Forest is declared by our president in December 30 in 2016 for the 8 degrees of determination of Adat Forest or customary forest handed over to Adat community by President Jokowi in State Palace. Since then, the customary forest or Adat forest policy has been continuously strengthened, and implementation of the recognition of Adat forest always increased significantly until this year. Next, please. Is maybe you can show about the evolution of our rules about Adat forest of Katamuru forest from the first time in ministerial decree 32 in 2015. We have more learning about the situation, and then in 2021 with government regulation we have more higher regulation from ministerial decree to government regulation 23rd. Then we have more powerful with the title of forest management, and we have now two criteria or category of forest area: state forest and Adat forest. Adat and state forest is in the same level, is very evolutionary about the regulation of our minister. The status of customary forest or Adat forest will determine the function. Also have a resolution about the settlement in the Adat in forest area. There's a lot of resolution conflict can be done with this regulation. And next, please. And now we have Adat forest in 131 community in Indonesia, about 244,000 hectares, almost quarter million hectares in Indonesia, in 18 province, and we have indicative if in next process is become a state forest, become Adat forest, is have among community in 14 province. This the situation in Indonesia, and we achieve this goal to the next year to manage all the indicate become hutan adat or Adat forest. Next, please. Nah, this is the importance of knowledge, because if you see the circle of green, we know that the Adat people who live around the forest have a very close relationship with their environment. This three example from the province of Jambi in Senamat Ulu, Batu Baru Pelepat, and Rimbo Penghulu. Is from the Adat forest or Adat people to preserve the forest. Forest is source life that is managed from generation to generation with local wisdom and traditional knowledge. And the spirit of the Adat people is to protect the Adat forest with sustainable management, with local traditional, local wisdom, and the Adat institution. Sorry, they are aware that the forests are the source of life and existence of the community. That's why they can preserve, protect the forest as well as the government did. Next, please. Is the example from Sanggau, from Dayak Mayau in West Kalimantan. Before the Adat forest to be decree for minister, whole this area is a production area. But when the team to verify the Adat forest and to community, we can decree the Adat forest in two function. First is production function as before, and then we level up about production function to protected area. Forest is protected area because the new function from Adat criteria is the same from the criteria of local knowledge in their everyday life as a sacred forest. This is a powerful interaction about our team and their knowledge to have new function of this community from production function area forest to protected areas. One from people is a sacred forest. One in our term is protected areas forest. Is a lot of function for life, water, any herbal and food for this protected area. Next, please. Yeah, it's about our Adat forest in 131 unit. We have in 18 province now. And for the climate change, we have 20,000 hectare, or maybe or in 48 community Adat forest to have forested landscape, but in non-forested area. They're not registered yet as reduction emission to the national register, and we still progress on it to they registered become Adat forest and to battle the climate change. Next, please. And now from the empower of community, we have 1,007 school for Adat people with a local knowledge, with a local wisdom to empower the community to have information to engage the people of the youth people to manage the Adat forest to become more good, more strong Adat institution. Next, please. And I say thank you to all delegation and friends. It's our picture in Papua, Jayapura. Is after verification, and now Jayapura or Papua have 6 Adat forests in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pras, for giving us overview of Indonesian policy on Adat forest and its implementation. And then from the second speaker will be Mr. Aji. Can you
Okay.
pass the microphone?
Yeah. Thank you, Pak Apri. Maybe we will show about the presentation. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. This one is I will present to you about elevating local knowledge as a measure of resource to climate change adaptation. I am Bima. We are very proud to be in here about share to the local knowledge from the indigenous, from the where the place Huma participate with the local knowledge in a measure of resource to climate change adaptation. I am part of Huma. Huma, next. Yeah, Huma is one of organization who have focused on many issues like legal pluralism, indigenous rights, and climate change. We carry out, we collaborate with the government, local government, to policy, in the government political will to get the recognize of indigenous rights and then indigenous community for the protect their forest. And then we collaborate with the indigenous peoples to documenting, to support their local knowledge, local wisdom to be document in a book, in a platform, and that all known by us to get the new perspective of local knowledge and local wisdom from them. Next. Yes, the 2 point of the local wisdom or local knowledge is the first is local wisdom value. And the second is role of local knowledge in climate change adaptation. Local knowledge is not only about the scientific facts, but also includes the cultural values that have been passed down from generation to generation. These values include environmental ethics, traditional systems, or natural resource management and sustainable ways of living. By highlighting these values and wisdom, we pay respect to cultural heritage and create a more holistic and integrated approach to adaptation with local communities, which in turn can increase community resilience to climate change. Then the 2 point of this. And then next, we took the example. Yeah, this one is Kenenong. We called it Kenenong. Kenenong is the calendar system of the Acehnes indigenous based on wind direction. It's local knowledge and we known it and we share to the Ministry of Environmental and Forestry where in Aceh Jaya, yeah, we called in Kenenong, yeah. This system is related to the season for planting rice or rice fields and other types of agricultural crops and has existed since the time of Sultan Iskandar Muda. Yeah, Sultan Iskandar Muda is Kesultanan Aceh, is the king of the Sultan Aceh. And according to Kenenong, it can also be used to see good signs of going fishing in the sea or the start of the farming, yeah, start of the farming. And the Acehnes says, musim timuja tarik puket, musim wesje meniaga, which means that the east wine or eastern season is better for going to sea, and the west wine or west season is better for trading. And Kenenong is written in the phenomenal books in the 1920. It's written by the Snukhur Grunge, and Snukhur Grunge is write this Kenenong is the one of local knowledge in the Aceh. Okay, next. Yeah, this point is integrating local knowledge for adaptation strategies. We initiate the local knowledge collection, combine local knowledge with scientific data and formal research, and involve local communities in the decision-making process regarding climate change adaptation, form discussion groups, or partnership between researcher, practitioner, or local communities, because we gain the participating from the communities to get their perspective, to get their local knowledge, to be part of the research or to the documented document. And then focus on strengthening the capacity of local communities to manage climate change risk. And then using local technology and locally based innovation and recognition and awards. This one is recognition and awards is was did by the Ministry of Environmental and Forestry. They divide into the gold, platinum, and the silver to be the part of the local or indigenous indigenous output ya from their social forestry or their Adat forest. And next, these barriers to recognizing and understanding local knowledge. The first is incomprehension or ignorance, and then the second is dominance of formal science, and the third lack of inclusion in decision making. Yes, the three of barriers to recognizing and understanding local knowledge is the things that we must have to effort to eliminate resistance to local knowledge integration, and then we use the initiative. The first is education and awareness. The second is collaboration and partnership with the governance, local governance, and the local communities. And the third is community participation, gradual integration, adopt an inclusive approach, role of local leader, collaborative research, and we give the communities real benefit from the local knowledge, from their local wisdom. As one example, I use the batik. I use the batik, and the local knowledge from this one is batik. Batik is recognized by UNESCO in 2012, and then the pattern of the batik is part of local knowledge, and then it's from the South Sulawesi. Okay, I think it's enough. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Haji. I apologize to inform to all speakers that you should giving a talk within 10 minutes. I apologize. But all of you, 10 minutes for the two first speakers. For the next speakers, Tami, yes, 10 minutes within. Yes, within 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you very
10.
much. Can you hear me loud? Okay, clear. Okay, my name is Tami. I'm from Kawal, Borneo. Kawal, Borneo means Friends of Borneo. I'm from Borneo. I'm Dayak. And I also part of the National Working Group of Social Forestry. It's set up by the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. So here, I'll be talking about women empowerment. See that. So can you see this is a kind of framework, I call it. When we are talking about women and social forestry towards climate adaptation and resilience, so this is the case of Indonesia. I'd like to show you about to unsee that. We have 5 schemes here of perhutanan sosial. As you know that we have a hutan kemasyarakatan, hutan, that's a kind of social forestry, and then or community forestry. Hutan desa, it's a village forest. Hutan adat, that's a customary forest. Hutan tanaman rakyat, that's a kind of a plantation forest by the community, as well as the kemitraan kehutanan, that's a partnership. And the principle of perhutanan sosial is the balance from the pillars of ecological, social, and economics. So here we also promote the 3 types of management in each side, from institution and entrepreneurship. So right now we are talking about the progress of perhutanan sosial, including women. Just want to check. So until September 2023, over 6 million hectares have been distributed to customary and poor people. This is very important because 1/3 of the poorest people in Indonesia live or resides in the forest area. So we are talking about the important thing in order to tackle the poverty. It's covering almost 1.3 million households. It means that if one household consists of 4 up to 5%, it means about 5 up to 6 millions have participated in social forestry. And out of that, women take about 20% in social forestry. So right now that if we are talking about the women in social forestry, we need to remember in Indonesia we have a term of Ibu Bumi. That's a kind of Mother Earth. So we are talking about the climate adaptation and resilience. The case of Indonesia, women here is really have to do with the mitigation. For example, they do planting, seedling, and doing a kind of conservation and do forest sustainable management. They also make a kind of adaptation. For example, they promote local seeds. They have really make a local innovation, waste management, climate resilience, and so on. So this is a kind of women leadership. And the next, please. I want to show you, because I think that picture sometimes speaks louder than words. So here that's. Okay, this is in Jambi. When you mention about Jambi here, see that the women, they're very happy. This is women's involvement in village forest management in Bujang Raba landscape. That's in Jambi. So we also have, so you see that? They're making their plan, and then they have their own organization. Next, please. And we also have women entrepreneurship groups to minimize deforestation and forest degradation in Simpang Kapuak village forest. Simpang Kapuak in Sumatra. See that? They also make a kind of agroforestry, and also they have certain products by women. And the next, please. This is from my organization from Kawal Borneo. Here we have community forestry in Sungai Wain at Karangjuang in Balikpapan City in East Kalimantan. And women there, they have what we call women organization, and they produce a product from a certain agroforestry. So the women there, they combine the plantation of dragon fruit, pepper, and also rubber trees. So it's really the example of agroforestry. Next, please. We also have Hutan Desa or village forest in Intulinga village. This is Dayak in Kutai Barat, Regency, and East Kalimantan. They make a kind of product of for NTFP, non-timber forest product. So for example, they make sticky toffee or dodol from durian. You like durian? See that one. And we also, they also make a kind of certain product from ginger, as well as cereal of endemic sweet potato. They call gamyong. They also make, next please. They also make a kind of ecotourism in Hemak Benuing. What is Dayak word? Hemak Benuing. Okay. And Kampung Juak Asa in Kutai Barat. Next, please. See that. So we are from Sumatra and then to Kalimantan, and this is the example from the eastern part of Indonesia. We have what we call as Mama Bamboo. So here that I want to give you 3 examples of Mama Bamboo. The first one is the right ones, that group Mama Bamboo. This is the project conducted by one of my friends, Yayasan Bambu Lestari, Yayasan Bambu Lingkungan Lestari, and they have empowerment and a kind of activities in order to empower the role of women to conserve bamboo. Right now they have planned over 1.6 million seedlings of bamboo in 7 districts in forest. And next, please. They also pioneering women-based restorative economic collective actions because bamboo is a nature-based solution and all parts of bamboo can be used for many purposes. How many minutes I have? 2 minutes? Oh, that's good. Still 2 minutes. Okay.
2 minutes.
And also we go to Desa, Desa means village, Desa Radabata in Ngada. Have you ever been to Flores? Dragon? Okay, Komodo. So if you mention about Ngada, they have there what they call as Pasar Napu Beto. Pasar Napu Beto is a very traditional community market, especially for promoting bamboo. So they have a kind of transaction in there. They sell traditional food, but they also promote several handicraft of bamboo. And the last one is that one. No, that one. Okay. The right ones. So the right ones is edu-ecotourism. When we call about edu-ecotourism in Gololani village in Manggarai Timur, to educate and raise the community about the importance of bamboo. So, to resume my presentation, I'd like to show you that women in Indonesia, I have given you several cases from Sumatra, Kalimantan, and eastern part of Indonesia. They really contribute to the climate, to tackle climate change and climate crisis. When we are talking about the role of women, it means that women really has a very strong importance in order to achieve SDGs goals, to climate adaptation and mitigation. They have really have a great roles in poverty reduction. They also take a part to strengthen and empower culture. So, this is the example, the inspiration of Indonesia. When we are talking about social forestry, we also talking about a half part of people, that's women empowerment. Thank you so much, and please give applause to the women in social forestry. Thank you.
Thank you, Tami, for giving us some example, many example of women contribution in climate adaptation, particularly in social forestry in Indonesia. Thank you, Tami. For the next speaker, Martin, may I give to Regan first? Then for the rest. Is it okay?
Thank you. Okay. So first of all, good morning. Can you hear me clearly? I know there's other sound in the background. Thank you very much to the organizers for inviting me and for inviting RECOF to be a part of this event. I have to say I'm very interested and inspired by the presentations of the preceding speakers. This is wonderful, and I love to hear what Indonesia is doing and these 107 Adat schools. This is very exciting. So for what I will discuss today, it will look at local knowledge from more of a regional perspective and some of the observations that we are having, as well as some of the examples of what our Indonesia country program has been doing specifically in parts of Indonesia around resilience. Next slide, please. So maybe to begin, I work at RECOF, which is the Regional Community Forestry Training Center for Asia and the Pacific, and we work with both local communities, community forests, as well as governments within the region, including Indonesia. And one of the four main pillars that we have, in addition to gender and social inclusion, is one of our major pillars, is around climate change, adaptation, as well as mitigation, primarily through nature-based solutions. We have increasingly come to the conclusion, and I think that this particular COP28 and the global stocktake underscores the fact that we are not on track to where we need to be. If we're looking to keep under a 2-degree ceiling, there needs to be a further 27% reduction in emissions, 43% if we want to hit the 1.5-degree target. Very ambitious, very challenging, and one of the conclusions that I take from this is that the tools that we're currently using, while they're making progress, they're not sufficient, and they're not sufficiently fast at being able to deal with the challenges that we have in front of us. So there's an entire body of knowledge and experience and people on the ground who understand intimately the nature-based solutions, the systems, the ecosystem services, and I think that this has not been adequately tapped into, recognized, validated as a really important part of the solutions to both emissions as well as how to adapt to the impacts of these emissions. As a result of this, we're thinking more and more about what can be done to capture experiences from Asia Pacific, knowledge, experiences, and document traditional ecological knowledge before it increasingly is eroded, and especially we see the transfer to the younger generation is a real challenge in many, many countries. So, as you see in my slide, traditional ecological knowledge for adaptation. We, as a community forestry, a social forestry organization, understand the relationship of forests and adaptation to go 2 ways. Number one, how can the forests and the forest resources support the resilience and adaptation of communities and of people, but also how can those same communities support the ecological resilience of those forest ecosystems? So Asia has been inhabited for a long, long time, especially the many islands and archipelago of Indonesia, of the Philippines. And what that means is you have communities, indigenous people who have very, very lengthy knowledge base, wisdom that goes back in some cases thousands of years in that particular setting. And they know what the changes are, what the signals are, how to identify that a calamity is coming, how to manage natural disasters. And I think that this is something that can be leveraged, actually should and must be leveraged, both locally, because adaptation takes place at a local level, but also at that national scale. And then what can we take nationally to the regional and the global scales of decision-making and strategies on how to deal with climate change. So just some general reflections on what some of the key adaptation contributions from forest and traditional ecological knowledge. Food security. Indigenous people, local communities within the region, when there are food shortages, food scarcity, when the crops fail, there's widespread understanding of which forest products can be eaten, which cannot, under duress. And I think this is a very important source of knowledge. Medicinal, pharmaceutical properties of plants and forest products, what you can use and to treat what illnesses. This idea of early warning systems for ecological shocks, especially, and we need this as we go into climate change. You know what is coming. How do you know this? How do you document this? And then how do you respond? So the post-shock survival strategies. When you see wildlife behaving in a certain way, what do you do? And actually our experiences, there's very clear strategies. When we see this, you know, step 1, step 2, step 3, this is what we do. So some examples from our colleagues in Myanmar, especially a women-led indigenous knowledge is which seeds from the jungle, from the forest are to be collected, are to be preserved to support longer-term agrobiodiversity. Do you need to constantly supplement and add new species into mixed cropping patterns? Again, following wildlife behavior. Which species behave in which ways to anticipate additional rainfall, storms coming, you know, maybe tsunami. Another example that I see very clearly in Thailand and Laos is forest-based protein and insects. And I think that this could be a very interesting way that the global community can consider to reduce our impact, our carbon footprint, our ecological footprint in considering insects. And it can also be a wonderful source of enterprise and livelihood for local communities that are able to produce or perhaps farm insects. Next slide, please. This is one of our IP elders and leaders. RECOFT organized a session at Asia Pacific Climate Week in Johor Bahru 2 weeks ago on traditional ecological knowledge for adaptation. And we had Datu Lanelio join us, actually in the end virtually, but really this is one of his statements. One of the things that we're looking to do as a result of the Asia Pacific Climate Week event is to try to establish a network of IPLC, Indigenous people, local community leaders with traditional ecological knowledge, with a focus on women and other groups that might not be able to engage for language reasons, maybe for formal education reasons, and to provide them opportunities and supports for mentorship, especially for young people, to validate their knowledge, their roles, and to try and connect them with other IPLCs from the region. Next slide, please. Okay, next slide, please. So just very briefly, these are some slides that my colleague Pak Gama has shared. Some of the work that RECOFT has been engaged in South Sulawesi especially has been to support local communities and the government of Indonesia in securing land rights, tenure rights for social forestry, seeing this as a critical part of establishing resilience and reducing vulnerability. So we have trained more than 2,100 people, more than 27% of this being women, in natural resource management. Facilitated the granting of 3 social forestry permits and have supported 6 others. Created more than 10 social forestry entrepreneurship groups and supported establishment of inclusive business partnership action plans for more than 30,000 hectares of forest in South Sulawesi. Next slide, please. Thank you. Another example in Jambi is around the limited involvement of local communities in peatland fire management, prevention, monitoring. So some of the interventions there have been around increasing capacities and knowledge at village levels of fire monitoring and prevention, some of the fire management strategies, and involving the communities participating directly in fire alerts, monitoring fires, and then integrating this into government fire alert systems. Next slide, please. So I think I'm pretty close to my 10 minutes, I guess, or gone over. Oh, I've gone over.
But it's okay.
Okay. So some thank you. Some ways forward, just to reflect back on traditional ecological knowledge. Again, I think it can and must play an important role in global strategies. How do we do this? We recognize, we validate, we document, and also perhaps incentivize Indigenous people and local communities who have been these traditional guardians of forests and of biodiversity. 80% of global biodiversity is under Indigenous peoples' management. And documentation, as we see a very fast erosion of traditional ecological knowledge. I've mentioned our intention to support or to develop a network for exchange and piloting of different traditional ecological knowledge strategies and tactics, perhaps in other locations that are suitable, and especially knowledge transmission between generations, because we see that as a major challenge as young people are exposed to modern social media and values that don't necessarily support traditional Indigenous cultural values. And again, finally, the need to pair with technological solutions. I think that this hybrid model of looking at remote sensing and GIS for participatory land use planning, for carbon project development, for modeling of wildlife corridors, for biodiversity preservation, and ecosystem accounting and valuation. I think that's my last slide. Yes, this is one of our initial network youth, basically lamenting the lost traditional knowledge of her grandfather when she went away to school overseas, and then you have the rupture. And so how can we maintain that? How can we keep that between the generations? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Regan, for your important talk. For the last speaker, but not at least, Mr. Martin, could you please give your talk?
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. And I would like to start with many thanks. Many thanks for the invitation, Dr. Mahfoud's entire crew of the Ministry of the Environment and Forests. It's a pleasure to be able to represent KfW, the German Development Bank, today here on this panel, jointly with the distinguished panelists. Many thanks for the inputs, impressing. I will make up some time, I think. I will just concentrate on very few lines, trying to share a little bit the perspective of the international cooperation of the German cooperation in regard particularly to the social forestry program. We are passionate about this program and our participation in this because it's giving continuity to a long-term cooperation with Indonesia on forests. We have currently, and I'm not going to bore you with numbers overly, almost a 200 million euro strong portfolio of projects being in implementation, grant-based. We internally discuss a lot the importance of grants. We are still convinced that grant funding is needed to move forward with lighthouse projects that really make a difference, pilot new approaches. And that already brings me a little bit to three elements that I would like to point out where this passion for the social forestry program comes from. And the first point is that for us, it's an excellent example where national policy and local implementation go together hand in hand. So we have heard in the introduction that you are with 6 million plus hectares in the program, and that is a meaningful size, a very meaningful size, and congratulations for that. And yes, and the point there is, okay, it's sustained by local implementation, and I, as a forester, being here, you know, between livelihoods, forest and water, feels really good. It is the diversity of the Indonesian setting that makes that also challenging to implement national targets within the context of high diversity and to find those models that can be replicated and scaled up. I mean, we have heard a lot of examples, and the importance of women in all this is a transversal aspect. The program brings these two elements very well together. As a, yes, also as a forester with ground-based experience, I can say that clarifying land use rights tenure is fundamental to anything related to sustainable management. It's the entrance door. So the program tackles that, and it opens the path to sustainable patterns. Are we immediately engaging into fully fledged sustainable approaches? No. So there is huge challenges within the individual models, and that is already the third point. The diversity of the individual cases, and the German cooperation particularly supports the piloting in West Kalimantan and the Flores Island, shows that diversity, and it goes from non-timber forest products. And we talked a little bit about the potential importance of small-scale adapted plantation forests to also generate concrete revenues. I think these individual approaches, and Regan, you also demonstrated some of them, to bring them into scale that is the challenges that are still ahead. But I feel you're perfectly prepared, and I'm now looking very much forward to the joint discussion on the different inputs we heard. Thank you very much.
Applause to all speakers. Thank you. Amplifying local knowledge is crucial for creating effective and context-specific strategies to tackle the impact of climate change at the community level. I know all of the audience is very eager to ask, but maybe for a couple of minutes, because I also have a question for all speakers. We are talking about the traditional wisdom and modern climate change right now. And Regan also mentioned about the challenges, many challenges. Are there challenges or opportunities in the bridging the gap between the traditional wisdom and modern climate change? How to bridge in it? It is very challenging, I think. To all, how to bridging the gap between traditional wisdom and the modern climate science. This is very challenging, I think.
How to bridge it? How to bridge? How to bridge?
Or maybe Tami, you want to respond first?
Yeah, this is a tricky one actually, because when we are talking about the more modern thing, for example, business development, people from community, they really, oh, what kind of business? And then, you know, they really has something to do really with traditional. So the key to make a kind of bridging between the traditional and the modern things is capacity building. So if we want to mention about capacity building, we need to pay attention about the characteristic, the diversity, and the different needs. Very different from one community to another community, very different needs between women and men, very different between the older generation, the elders, with the young. So we really need to pay attention to the variety. And please don't forget, if you mention about the modern things should be the pathways to promote the local wisdom, not to neglect, not to recite the local wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Tami. So the important case is about building capacity to local people. Maybe the next, Mr. Aji.
Maybe I'm the second.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I present the Kenenong. Yeah, Kenenong is the part of the calendar system which collaborate to the local government to make recognize with the regulation, with the local regulation. We called it Kanun. Yeah, Kanun. In Kanun, we initiate the Kenenong is insert to the part of the Kanun, the first, and the second is the how to improve and how to insert the Kenenong in the local module in the elementary schools, and the other schools in the Aceh province. And then the second is how to manage the Kenenong with the local communities. It's written by the books of the community in the Mukim. Yeah, Mukim is the one of the part local communities called in Aceh. I think it's the 2 point of the how to bridging the local government and the local recognized with the local regulation, and the second is how to insert the local module in their school.
So
Thank
the
you.
education is the most important.
Yes, the education.
Thank you, Pak Ji. Maybe Pak Pras, Mr. Pras, if you
Thank
want
you.
to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Apri. I have answer. Maybe I IT team room in behind us to show my presentation in slide 7 and 8. For Mr. Bima, so that the Kenenong is local wisdom. And in North Sumatra have like similarly like that. In our knowledge, we have just 7 names of the day: Monday, Sunday, Thursday. In North Sumatra, in Batak traditional knowledge, they have 30 name of the day, from 1 to 20 or 30, the 30 day. And every day they have a own behavior, must to do the people about the nature and to protect the water, land, forest from day by day, by the day of refresh by the moon, from the first moon, full moon, and then it's a black black moon. And is the new consensus about traditional knowledge and modern science. We have 3 examples: relation indigenous people and customary forest is the answer about the new consensus, the collaboration, and the new myth about traditional knowledge and scientific modern. Next, please. One more, please. In yes, is the protected area is a new consensus that the answer about the question, that the protected area is new consensus about Adat forest knowledge or local wisdom knowledge as a sacred forest, as a source of herbal and everyday life. But in modern scientific mode, they become a criteria in our regulation in forest regulation to 3 function: forest conservation, protected areas, and production. And they have a new function in Sanggau, Kalimantan, in Dayak Mayau. They has a new consensus and the myth of traditional knowledge, local wisdom, and scientific mind to Adat forest recognition to have their manage the forest to the community. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Brass, for your sharing experience. Maybe Martin or
Maybe
Reagan.
just a quick thought. I mean, in regard to forests, if we want to improve and scale up contributions to the mitigation of climate change, protection of biodiversity, there is a limited set of options. You can protect or you can manage well. Yeah, and the map that you just showed is a good example of that, I think. If traditional knowledge can help to sustain a consensus among communities that this is a protected area, then that is the way to go. And we were discussing, I think, mainly also on the track of how to improve sustainable management. And the challenge there is the diversity of approaches in such a huge country like yours. Yeah. So from a development and an economic perspective, I would think, yeah, that working on the scalability and to create clusters and really even foster more the mutual learning within the program can be a way to improve impact on sustainable management, yeah, along with enforcement, of course, wherever the state is needed.
The last, Reagan,
Okay.
would you respond?
So quickly, how to overcome these challenges of incorporating traditional ecological knowledge for adaptation. I mentioned the generational challenge and how to retain this in the midst of all these global modernization consumerist pressures. And my thinking on this is perhaps it's not enough to just allow people to practice. Perhaps it needs to actually be actively supported. And to me, that might take two forms. And it doesn't mean that everything comes down to financial incentives, but I think that's a big part of it, potentially. The other one is validation. So for example, how do you create opportunities for especially young people, because that's where I see the gap, to be proud, to be champions. And it should be, you know, a young Indigenous person sitting here rather than me, for example, having that opportunity to speak, to be heard, to take the lessons back, to get excited, and to be inspired. So that's one. When it comes to the financial incentives, perhaps linked to what you're saying, some of these opportunities around whether it's carbon insetting, carbon offsetting projects, for example, in the East Kalimantan FCPF project, I understand as part of the benefit sharing mechanism, there's a proportion that goes as a reward to the traditional guardians of the forest. I think it's a 10% component as an acknowledgement of the traditional guardians. I think, you know, different benefit sharing mechanisms need to have a set aside acknowledging and recognizing the historic roles of Indigenous people in local communities in managing forests. So I think that's an important avenue as well. Thank you.
Thank you. For the audiences, due to the limitation of the time, we only have one person to ask. 5 minutes left. Only one person is okay. Please raise your hand and mention your name and your institution and to whom your question will be addressed. Maybe one person. Want to ask?
Or can I add something to that?
It's okay.
If it is possible. I remember about the book by Kate Raworth, the economics of donuts. She mentioned that in order to tackle the one of the problem right now is about the economics really exploit the natural resources, and she over the balance of principle, ecological, social, and economics. So she really see that the way of what we are doing, for example, in social forestry, the balance between the ecological, social, and economic is a pathway, forward way, just to give a new paradigm of economics. So we are not putting ourselves in a modern type of economics that really give kind of exploitation to the people, make a poverty, and also to destruct forests. But we need to put ourselves in terms of balancing. That's the words of Kat Raworth. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tami, for additional information. Thank you for your participation today in this discussion. We have learned and shared about first role of the local knowledge in climate change, the women contribution to climate adaptation and resilience in the context of social forestry in Indonesia, the method of amplifying through integrating local knowledge for adaptation strategies, and also the international perspective to Adat forests. Thank you very much to all speakers for addressing this interesting topic. On behalf of Directorate General of Social Forestry and Environmental Partnership, we really do appreciate for your very important contribution of this topic. Ladies and gentlemen, may I thank you very much for your participation on this talk show. I hope you enjoy the program. Have a safe trip home. Thank you.